Again, see, again, we're discussing trivial issues. 10 minutes we're discussing. If you are running for president and you cannot convince 48,000 people to trust you with a copy of their IDs, how are you going to convince Kenyans? You see, we're wasting time. We have such much more critical issues facing our country now, and we're discussing people who can't raise 48,000 signatures and photocopies. Why did this issue even go to court? If you're running for president, you don't know that this is the requirement, and then you want to be president of this country? Are you running for president or Mzee wa Mtaa?
You know, let me tell you.
See, the problem we're having today in Kenya is that our courts are entertaining all sorts of trivial issues. Okay? Anybody with any trivial issue, because it's his constitutional right, it's also our constitutional right as Kenyans to tell the courts, don't waste our money on trivialities like this. And here we are on national TV, hundreds of thousands of people are watching us, and we're discussing candidates who can't get photocopies. My friend, if you don't trust me with a photocopy of your ID, are you really going to trust me as your president?
You know, let me tell you, there's one thing that you must agree with Shakbal here, and he said it correctly, that these are jokers. Agreed. But unfortunate thing about the law is even the joker has rights. Freedom of speech applies even to the village madman. And indeed, there is no doubt in my mind that all of the candidates not on that ballot today are not going to make it to be president. That is not news to anyone. But there is a constitutional requirement that they need to be heard. And if they meet those significant thresholds of getting to 2,000 signatures from 24 counties, they need to be included in the ballot, trivial as it may be, because tomorrow, we will find someone who is serious, who will be set aside because of another rule that is not constitutional from the IEBC. So there's the practicability of it, which is it's absolute nonsense, but there is the legality of it, and the truth is that even those people with their wildest fantasies need to be entertained in our constitution, because that's what our constitution is about, unfortunately.
Hezbollah, should Wafula Chebukati resign? That is one of the things that...
And I think that's the idea Mark is giving them, Now they're hanging on anything. You see, because if the due process was not followed, you cling to the due process. Don't clutch on anything. Wafula Chebukati resigns, because if Wafula Chebukati resigns, so what? So will there be an election, or will be thrown into another constitutional crisis? And I think I totally agree with Shabal. Some of these things are better off. We are giving these people undue credit, and the more we talk about them, the more we make this thing look like a national issue. It is not. These are individuals who are pursuing their own interest, and I think their interest is to ensure that there is chaos, there is no election, and that doesn't help anyone in this country.
Okay, Kipchumba, should he resign?
I think Trevor.
There are many issues that people have been raising.
Trevor, there are two things that also we need, and as advice to my senior Shabal, when somebody takes a constitutional or any petition to court, at times I even pity those judicial officers. Some are just useless on the face. You see them and but the problem is, if you do not entertain them, you go to JAC, you have abrogated duty. But on whether Chebukati resigns, I agree with the whole panel. We need to get some serious jokes. These ones are petty. Because we are in the middle of an election in terms of balancing rights. And he has captured it. All of us have our political rights. We cannot waive it because of one person. We go back to that old Matatu rule. Will you save the people in the Matatu and hit one, or save one and lose the Matatu?
Okay.
I think it goes back. But again, I have not seen the serious issues being raised as to the person of Chebukati. What they were raising is a procedural issue which should not be attached to an individual commissioner. Let us fight the process. But again, also what people need to understand is that there is a departure from the past in terms of litigating electoral disputes. Pre-election disputes have to end before the 9th. You cannot take these issues to an election court after the 9th. That will be the post-election dispute. So after the Wajir case, there was the marking of the different kind of disputes. That's why everybody is battling with all manner of disputes. For example, in Sakaja, each day there is a new dispute, because they know that If Sakaja today or the election is done on 9th, you can't go with those things of degree to the election court. You purely go with the issues of were the ballots counted, were people given a free chance to vote, all those manner of things. So at the end of the day, these are guys beating timelines, and what they are trying to draw from this as they try to do with any clutch there, with any straw that they are seeing, is that there is just an ego massaging contest. I don't see any serious debate.
Okay. Shaba, let me bring you on this question. We tried to answer most of the questions raised by the Daily Nation, almost 10 of them there, but there's a question 7 that we haven't talked about. Why the secrecy around the KPMG voter register audit report? Are you concerned about the publication of this audit report, especially coming at a time when the DP himself had said that 1 million of his voters have been moved, and then IBC also confirmed through the preliminary report that there are discrepancies of about 1.2 million people, not necessarily from the same region, but there were discrepancies. Are you concerned that even the voter register itself is not as clear, in as much as they've said that there are 22 million people plus?
Again, it comes back to the same thing. There is a need for more transparency and more openness in the IBC process. If it is a KPMG audit report, why is it secret? Okay. But again, if there are discrepancies, 1.2 million voters, it doesn't mean that all those 1.2 million are either Azimio voters or Kenya Kwanza voters. They are voters across the political divide. This issue here, again, goes back to the same thing that the entire panel has been raising from the start. IBC needs to be more transparent and communicate more with all the parties in the political process.
Okay.
On the issue of Chebukati resigning, again, that's a peripheral sideshow. I mean, we're talking about him resigning. This IBC is a whole organization. What about if he dies tomorrow? It could happen. He's a human being like anybody else. Does this mean that the process stops? It doesn't stop.
Does it mean these people will be in the ballot now, that Chebukati is out of their way?
Exactly. Like I said, it's a sideshow. What is important about the whole Chebukati issue is when we are selecting these IBC commissioners is when we should really focus on making sure that the right persons are selected.
Yeah.
But now, 1 month before elections, you're talking about forcing Chebukati to resign. Peripheral issues. Let's stay focused on what is important. We want a free, fair, transparent election.
Yeah.
That's what's important, not Chebukati or this commissioner or that commissioner.
Yeah.
The train has to keep on moving.
All right. Kipchumba, on this issue of KPMG, in as much as there are those who are arguing that, you see, Wafula Chebukati is still presided over an election that the Supreme Court